Welcome back to the Titanium Hanger. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about Super 7 Ultimates and how they could save the Ultimates line for G.I. Joe. A lot of people want to say it's over. They want to say, stick a fork in it, it's done, it's confirmed, it's on pause. Nothing's ever really confirmed to end. It's kind of strange, except unless it's Disney, the Disney license with them. But G.I. Joe has a lot of life left in it. And I really think that if we put out the right characters the right way, it will work. So I'm going to rank these, the top 10 Joes, the top 10 Cobra, and it's sort of a bit on a challenging side. I don't think that Ultimates needs to do all 503 figures that were released in the vintage era. I think that targeting the years from 1983 to about 1986 with a couple of outside variants would work. And I'm putting a roadmap of 20 plus figures on here that could get made, but they're in order. Maybe Brian or Jeffrey's going to see this. They're going to say, hey, that's a great idea, and let's just do what Mike shows on this roadmap. But let me know if you agree with all this. We'll talk about this and more coming up. Starting off number 10 on the Cobra side of things, Alley Viper. I know that's outside of the year range that I stated, but there's a reason. This is an army builder, a troop builder. It does look a little bit different. It would give some color and flair to the shelf, but also this would be one, and I would say for every troop builder and then a couple of the main characters, they need to be in the deluxe $35 line. Obviously, they're going to be like forcing everyone to buy them for $55, which is a big reason that Super 7 Ultimates is failing. The price point on Joe and getting that many figures is really, really tough. So figuring out how to get this for $35, even to go straight to deluxe, that would be awesome. But anyhow, looking at this, it is a figure that's a little bit later in the line. Probably not going to have as many people after this, which is why it's a little bit low. Number 9 on the Cobra list is Road Pig. Now, I'm not really truly ultimately satisfied with what Hasbro did with Road Pig, but I bought it anyway reluctantly because I wanted to put together my shelf. Now, I really think that if Super 7 did put out a Road Pig and made it more like the cartoon or even just like the card art, it would fit in really well. Now, one of the problems is, why would they make one more additional Dreadnought? Like, why not make them all? Well, I don't think they should make them all because Hasbro's already done a really job going around making Dreadnoughts, and there's only really two major ones left to do. I think this is their worst one, and if we got a good one in Ultimates, you could plug a giant, like an inch taller Road Pig into your display. It would still work fine, and it would look better. I know they would do a better job than what Hasbro did. Hasbro made a good figure, not a good Road Pig. That's the thing. Although I reluctantly bought it on sale, I don't know if it was clearance or what, but I did buy one because I thought I had to have it for the display. I love the Dreadnoughts. I don't think they should do them all. Road Pig is one. And I would say, yeah, we need Zanzibar, we need Thrasher and all that, but I believe Hasbro's going to eventually get to those. Well, probably sooner than later. Next up on my list here, number 8, is Night Creeper, and your underwear drawer is not safe, ladies, but with that, I think that this would be an awesome looking figure. Yes, outside of my date range, you're going to see that's why it's lower on the list with number 8. And this is just a figure, it's a personal fan favorite of mine, but also people responded very positively to the Hasbro version. And there already was like a 5-inch version out that people loved that one too. That was kind of like a 5 POA, just a cheapo $10 one. And with that, this would make an excellent Ultimates figure. Troop Builder's always fun. Again, get it at retail. That would be awesome if you could get that sucker at retail. Would you make it look like the Deke era cartoon? Probably. And I would say that, the vast majority of Joe collectors that are diehard Joe collectors generally collect up to the movie and stop. But there's a handful of figures that are just so cool that came later, up into the 90s, that are really amazing, and they're mostly on the Cobra side. Next up, we got Crimson Guards, and I gotta say, I would like to see these with a more cartoony look. Super 7 would do a great job with these guys. And I don't know how much part reuse you could do with this because you have very specific left and right kind of things going on. But you probably could do more part reuse to make these work. And they would sell as a 2-pack and all that kind of stuff. It would be kind of fun. But it's a little lower on the list because it is number 7. But I think it would be awesome. The Classified ones are okay. Hasbro did a good job on them. They're okay. But everyone says that the head sculpt looks like Tom Cruise and that not like the Crimson Twins, Tomax, and Zaymont, spelled forward and backward to make that happen. But it'd be a good one. The Crimson Guards are out. Those are awesome. And these would be equally as awesome. A lot of fun. Could you imagine the figures looking just like the cartoon? Because that's really what Super 7 Ultimate collectors are after. Next up is Night Viper, and it's one of my favorite figures, even as a kid, as an adult, going back and recollecting pretty much the whole line. And Night Viper was one that I've got 6 of. I did not want 6. I wanted 3, but I ended up with 6 because it's hard to say no. It's hard to turn it down. And with that, another one that's outside the date range, another troop builder. And as I said, a lot of the Cobra troop builders are pretty cool. And I think this would be a good one, a fun one to have in the line. I know Classified is doing Night Viper. I'm not copying Classified, but a lot of what Classified is getting around to now is still stuff that are core to the collecting and needs to happen. So Night Viper, definitely one on my list, but it's still only number 6. Number 5 is His Tank Driver, and we didn't get a carded one back in the day because it was only available with the His Tank that I know of. And then the mail away, and you can mail away and get one. So 25th anniversary had one. I just think that it would be a great figure. Drivers have got to be included. They've got to make drivers because we're not going to get these independent releases of figures, and we're not going to wait for these vehicles to get made by Super 7 because they won't. Hasbro's taking care of them, and I really think that most of the Ultimate figures will fit in everything that's made for Classified. I try that every time I review a vehicle. I put an Ultimates figure in there, and they always work. So with that, I do believe that we need to get a couple more of the drivers. His Tank Driver is definitely one that we'd want to get, and it could be a troop builder. There could be more you could do with it, repaints down the road. With that, we got to talk about Copperhead, another driver that I think is very important, pivotal to the toy line, the collection, and makes an impact. He's a character. He's not just the driver. He's not just the boat man. You have to stay with the boat. I mean, he was pretty awesome, you have to say. And yeah, I mean, there was some times where he looked kind of like a weak chump, but he is still a pretty cool character. Why can't we get him in the Ultimates line? And I'd like him super duper ultra tune. Again, Hasbro did a good job on theirs, but theirs is kind of modernized. Give me the old school, exactly what we saw in the cartoon. I'd be ultra happy. I'm sorry, ultimately happy. Copperhead was number 4 for the Cobras, but looking at the Viper is number 3. Cobra Viper is still one of my favorite characters, figures. I did not have a Cobra Trooper when I was a kid. For the longest time, I got a Viper. Later on at garage sales, years later, I got Troopers, and then I could kind of fill out the shelf, but it was a little too late with that, so this was my Cobra Trooper for the majority of the time. That mattered to me the most in collecting this stuff. And as an adult, this still looks good, but I like what Hasbro did. But I still would much rather see what Super 7 would do, how ultimate to the cartoon it would look, and I'd be in on that. That's why it's number 3 on my Cobra list. Firefly the Saboteur. I gotta say that even the retro version of the Classified didn't do it for me. I'm just not excited about that one, but still doesn't matter. They're two different lines, and Super 7 would nail it the first time around. The reason I started with Super 7 Ultimates is because they kept playing silly games with the Classified line, and like, we're going to give you an approximation of what you want. Then we're going to give you a closer version of what you want. And then finally, after the 4th version of Roadblock, you almost got what you want, and then boom, Super 7 nailed it with the first go-around. Nailed Roadblock. They nail this character with one release. They played games too. Super 7's played games with the Baroness. They played some games themselves. They're playing games with the Snake Eyes. We can talk about that. But they would really... How do I not even remember the retro one coming out? I mean, come on. Oh, yeah. It was during the dark times of collecting G.I. Joe Classified, and you didn't even get to see it. The absolute number 1, by far, character they need to make in the Ultimates line for $55 is Serpentor. And here's why. First of all, it would look super cartoon. It would look fantastic. They would do a great job, and it would be less detailed than what Classified did, but it would be super retro and exactly what I want. They would nail it the first go around. It would be super easy. I think Serpentor is definitely a top tier character, and yes, it's kind of outside that 83 to 86. It's 87 movie. Well, 86, and then they're in the 87 movie, but it's still okay. It is 86, so it is within my parameters. But number one, because guess what? You could get one if they made it for $55, and you could just get it and put it in your Classified collection, because Serpentor can be bigger than the rest of them, and that's perfectly fine. There's no need for Super 7 to make the Air Chariot, and I don't even think they're allowed to make vehicles for this scale. Anyway, they're allowed to make them for the 3.75 inch. That's fine, but not for this scale. And so all of that added up to just putting out a Serpentor figure, and it would print money. It would be gold. You would have Classified collectors clamoring for this because A, people who missed out, and B, people that have one with a chariot and just wanting another one that looks super cartoony would be freaking amazing. Yes, number one for Cobra for Super 7 Ultimates is definitely Serpentor. So doing G.I. Joe, the Joes are harder than the Cobra. Cobra's pretty easy. Like, what's going to resonate with the fans that would want to get, but there's more Joes. So just limiting it to 10 was very hard. I left some ones off this list that people are going to go, well, what about this one, this one, this one? I know. I probably could have done 30 Joes. Probably would have been better to do. I'm only doing 10, but I'm doubling up Alpine and Bazooka. Alpine and Bazooka should be together. You know, friends forever kind of thing. But these figures in absolute cartoon representation, like they walked out of the cartoon, would be amazing. I like what Classified did. Emphasis on like. They're good. I think that Super 7 Ultimates would make them even better. They would look like they walked off the screen, and they'd give me what I want. They'd give me the feels. I would be touched with the feels, and that's exactly what I want. But they share number 10? Yeah, the number 10 slot, because of the fact that they are almost inseparable. It's almost impossible to think of getting one but not the other. Like, you would yearn for, if you got Alpine, you'd yearn for a Bazooka, and if you got Bazooka, you'd be like, where's Alpine? What's going on? They almost need to be the same wave. I mean, it really does. It is one of those teams, pair-ups. They need to be in the same wave. So number 9 on the list for Joe's is Lifeline. You gotta admit that adding a little bit of red color into this, having a little bit of stuff that's a little bit of fun is fun in here. Having a medic. I mean, we've already got Doc, but we can use a Lifeline. And no, I'm not just copying the trend of what Classified is doing. It's just looking at all of them. I think that number 9, yeah, he's not number 1, he's not number 5, he's number 9, but he's still a pretty good one. Should we get Alpine and Bazooka before this? Maybe he should be moved to 10 and those should be 9. I mean, they're all real close, but still it'd be so much fun to have this character and this figure in the Ultimates line and all the bright colors, all that fun. I mean, it's just so much fun. I went through collecting all these last year, and so right now, like, it's been a 1-year anniversary of me collecting the rest of the line, and it's still kind of on my mind. It's still lots of those thoughts about what to do, what they should be making in Classified, what they should be making in Ultimates, and Lifeline's definitely one of them. So my number 8 is Blowtorch, and I gotta say this too. I know we're getting a Blowtorch in Classified. I'm not copying that. I'm just saying, looking at the characters, it's strange that Hasbro waited so long to give us more of these core characters, and it's almost like they're stringing the core characters along so that they can put out the offshoots to make the line last longer. So once you're done with all the characters all the way through 86 and most of 87, then like sales will just plummet. So they are stringing it along a little bit. Super 7 doesn't act like that. They go right to the jugular, get you the main core characters right away, and Flamethrower, good old Blowtorch would be good. Some people would say Barbecue, but I disagree. But that's a personal preference. If you want to plug Barbecue in this slot, go ahead, plug Barbecue in this slot. I don't know, they're not exactly interchangeable. I just always liked Blowtorch more, and I didn't want to allocate 2 slots to this. Yes, one makes fires, and the other one puts them out. All right, number 7 is Snake Eyes version 2. I am Snake Eyes out. I am sick and tired of Snake Eyes, but I have a Hasbro Snake Eyes in my Ultimates display, and he's too small, and I can cheat with it and put him on a step or something, make him a little taller. But at the end of the day, I'd still rather have the Ultimates version in the black. Really just painted black and give it some silver accents, and it would be just right. The retro accessories, it'd be just right. I mean, I want one that's just right. This one would be good. You already got the mold. Go straight to deluxe at Target. $35. This is another one that would... I mean, Snake Eyes is my favorite character. But so many people identify with it and love it. Love the character of Snake Eyes. That it would be one of those that would catch the normies. It would catch all kinds of people. People that don't even like G.I. Joe would be like, oh, I'd like to have a Snake Eyes on my shelf. You know, Snake Eyes in a Storm Shadow hanging in a Target... it's just gonna revive the line. I mean, like crazy, and it is what it is. We need this hanging in Target, like heavy, like Lion-O. Lion-O, you can go to any Target get a Lion-O. It seems like you should do that with the Snake Eyes. The line would come back. So I want to say number 6 is Recondo, and this is the retro version of the Classified, which is a great version, great figure. I like it. It looks good. It's what I'd want. It's what I want. It really is. Could Super7 make it better? I mean, they would make it in their style, and it would suit me better. This is still a great figure, and I'm not going to take anything away from it. And it's really weird too. It seems like the retro, once they make a retro version, it is better than what came out before. Most retro versions are better than what came out before. And I think Baroness is the only one that's not better than the previous one. But at the same time, they don't sell well. People that already got the first version are like, why would I double dip? So not everybody double dips and all that kind of stuff. But Super 7 hasn't made Recondo yet, and I think it's an important enough character, a cool enough character, and a cartoon enough character. I mean, I'd buy a Recondo right away. Like, they made it look super cartoony. It would be awesome. I would love it. But, yeah, Recondo is my number 6. Number 5 is Quick Kick, and I think that Quick Kick needs to be made. It's that important of a character. Again, the martial arts were big, you know, ninjas and all that kind of stuff. So you might be guessing what's in the next 5 or so. Quick Kick, definitely number 5. Definitely one that needs to get made. I like the Classified one, but I don't love it. I'm not in love with it. I'm not. I think it's okay, but it's not what Super 7 does for me. I want it to walk off the cartoon. Like, literally, I want to be like, hey, did I leave the TV on? Oh, no, that's my display. I mean, that's how I feel when I look at Super 7 stuff. I mean, I really do. I feel that way a lot of times when I'm looking at Super 7 figures. Like, did we leave the TV on? And that's where they win. You know, articulation, QC, they don't win all the time. But they never win in articulation. But still feeling like you just left the cartoon on. And, like, let me go turn it off real quick. Oh, wait, it's just my Super 7 display. They'll do that with Quick Kick. Next up is Wetsuit, and I do promise I'm not just following Hasbro and trying to copy what they're coming up with. But in all reality, Wetsuit is one that I've always liked, and I think is iconic enough to the team, but differentiated enough to be made. And I'm curious what they do with the head sculpts, too. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm curious what they do with the head sculpts. Will it just be a masked head? Will they give you an unmasked head? Will they do all that 3 different heads? And all kinds of fun, crazy stuff. But Wetsuit definitely needs to get made. Number 4 on the list, on the agenda. Here's what Hasbro's going to put out, and it does look a little bit more like the accessories more advanced. I think the figure itself is almost exactly what we'd expect. Just the accessories are different, and with that, pretty cool already, but too short. Yep, too short. Number 3 on my list is Snowjob. Definitely a classic character that needs to be made in the Ultimates line. Yes, Mike, it's a pipe dream of getting another Ultimates character. Well, the whole video is a pipe dream, so I'm going to keep on dreaming. Dreaming. Arctic Trooper looks fantastic. I mean, every one of these I'm covering, I wouldn't mind seeing in their 3.75 inch line also. Just hint, hint, nudge, 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 Brian and Jeffrey. So, looking at this, though, Snow Job's always been an important one. I don't know why Hasbro chose to make it an exclusive. I still expect to see a retro one, but still, it still won't live up to my expectations of the Ultimates. It's not an Ultimate, it's just a Hasbro one. But I expect to see the retro one. The retro one will come out, and people act like they don't care. But guess what? I bet they would, because I think the retro Hasbro one's going to come out around the time the Snowcat delivers. Guaranteed Snowcat's going to fun. But I think they'll announce this about a year from now. But I'd rather have an Ultimates one anyway. Next up is Shipwreck. I think Shipwreck would be a huge hit as an Ultimates figure. A couple of other things they could do with it. Of course, the bird could do a lot. And we will talk about Hasbro's version. But this is needed. It's necessary. The eternal goof-off that makes it happen when the time is right. Steps up to the challenge when needing to step up. I'm curious exactly how close to the animation they match it, what it looks like. I think it would look better than what Hasbro did, but I think Hasbro did a good job with theirs. I am definitely not going to bash theirs. I just love the whole classic look. And as a sailor, people buy more than one just because it's a sailor. Another one that would be fun to see at a Target for $35. And here we go with what Hasbro did. Hasbro did a good job, but could the SUPER7 Ultimates one look better? I do believe so, and I think it would look fantastic, and I think it would be better than what was done here, even though this was a great job. I mean, in-package collectors are ultimately screwed on this one, right? You know what I mean? Number 1, Shipwreck was 2. Number 1 is Spirit. Spirit with Freedom. Number 1 by far, needs to get made. And for me, I like that whole Storm Shadow and Freedom kind of fighting back and forth. I kind of like the Quick Kick 2, that whole scenario. But man, this is definitely an amazing character, so much fun, that if we could get this in the Ultimates line, it would be phenomenal. It would be fantastic. And yeah, Hasbro did a good one. But I'm still clinging to that, and I have that on my shelf. I display it, and I display it in a special place. But how much closer to the animation could SUPER7 get with their Ultimates? I think that they would do a fantastic job, and I think that it would be superior. It would be ultimately superior. But the classic one is still amazing, and I just seeing it upgraded. One of my almost an obsession was to get one that wasn't faded. It had the blue still in it and wasn't heavily discolored. This figure discolors heavily and is prone to ankle breakage. There's so many problems with the vintage one, but none of that really matters. If you're collecting Ultimates, you want Ultimates. I mean, you can't put your vintage one in your Ultimates collection. So we need Ultimate Spirit, number 1 of the Joes, by far. So let me know what you guys think about this list. Am I right? I mean, you can admit I'm right, and you could try to argue any points that I'm wrong, which is fine because we all have different opinions. But I thought a lot about this. I've been thinking a lot about this since I heard Ultimates is on pause. It may stop for a while, but it shouldn't. There really is no reason to. And if they stop it now and they don't reboot it, then it never will get rebooted. If they don't continue it, it's not going to continue. But I'm curious, how many of these points did you agree with? What did you disagree with? But what else do you think would take precedent in the Ultimates line if you look at what they've already made and what they should make? I mean, that's what this is all about. Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe to Hanger Out.